There we go. See, told you we were going to break something on sound. You just couldn't hear me say it. All right, that should be good. Yeah. So let's start that over. This is a DigiSpark. This is a $3 microcontroller. And today we are going to turn it into a keyboard injection tool. So first, I guess we need to talk about what a keyboard injection tool is. Basically, when I plug this into a computer, it is going to act like a keyboard. It's going to type for me. It's going to run anything I tell it to. We'll get to that part in just a minute. Once it runs what we're going to have it do, we can make it do anything from typing entire novels for us to what I use it for, which is running payloads. Payload is something we use in red teaming to drop malware, if you will. The malware that we use as red teamers is barely malicious. We're not going to set up ransomware on someone's computer. We're going to run things like reverse shells. In order to program these, we are going to use a tool called Arduino IDE, which just makes our life a little bit easier, gives us a little bit of code syntax highlighting, and it allows us to interface with the board itself. Today, we are going to actually demonstrate a couple things with this little tool. The first thing we're going to demonstrate is just the basics, just how to make it actually type something for us. And I'm flipping this thing, you guys can't see it. So because this is a microcontroller, we have to put code to it. If we don't have the code, it does nothing. Right now these have all had code sketches uploaded so that I can make sure that they were functioning microcontrollers. But when you first get them, they do absolutely nothing. They're just a blank board. So the first thing we would want to do, we're going to be programming in a C-type language. It is very relative to C++, but not exactly C++. I guess the next step is to actually start making it do something, because without it doing something, it's kind of boring. Start simple. We're going to make it send a keystroke. Oh, wow, Firebot's just doing all the things. Go Firebot. Actually, let's not do that. Let's just have it print a line first. So what we're doing is we're calling the DigiKeyboard library. We're going to print a line. It's just going to say hello chat. In a second, you'll be able to see me plug this in, upload this sketch or the code to the board, and then from there, barring it doing anything crazy, down here, we're going to make it type hello chat. Before I continue, real quick, can everybody actually read the IDE, or do I need to make that font a little bit bigger? Going once, going twice. Sold. All right, we're going to continue as it is. So the first thing we want to do is we want to verify our code's not going to break. This is a positive output. Lets me know how many bytes of memory it's going to use. And as long as it doesn't come back with an error, we know that the code's going to work. So from here, we'll click upload. And in the second cam, you'll see this get plugged in. You'll see some red lights and green lights flash. Maybe just green lights because I've already programmed it. And now we'll go here. Hi, Nixie. Thanks for the alert.
I'm a piranha.
And in just a second, if we plug this back in, it should print the line for us. And there you go. So this is where the tool actually starts to do things. And that's what it's going to do. Now, hello chat's fun. It's nice to say hi to everybody. But if I wanted to say hello chat, I can type that pretty fast. Probably not quite as fast as this thing can, but I can type it pretty fast. So again, what I would use this for at work would be something very different. If I can get a hold of your computer because you've left it unlocked, I can plug this in. Once I plug it in, it'll do, again, anything I want it to do. So from here, I'm going to switch over to Kali real quick. Hopefully this is a seamless switch. And we're going to look at something that I have in here, a little bit of Python. For anybody who's been to the other streams, we do focus a lot on Python. There's a reason for it. It's a quick, easy scripting language for me to write payloads in. Before stream, I wrote a reverse shell in Python, mainly because remembering all of this and trying to type it on stream just gets to be too much. So what we're doing is importing the OS library, socket, subprocess, threading. We're going to define a function. While this is true, we're going to receive some data. If the length of the data is 0, we're going to print to standard out or standard in. We're going to flush. We're going to send the data back and forth. We're creating a socket, which is basically, in this case, a TCP connection. I'm connecting it back to my Kali on port 444. In whatever is running the Python script, we're going to open Windows System 32 command exe. We're going to use the standard out is subprocess pipe. Standard errors, standard out, standard in is pipe. We're going to thread it. That's to keep it alive. We're going to start the thread. We're going to continue just doing these different things. We're going to continue waiting. If we decide to give it a keyboard interrupt, we'll close the socket. We'll get into reverse shells on another stream. Okay, we don't have a tmux shell. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to use Python. We're going to use a module called HTTP server. I'm going to set it up on port 80. It's going to listen for any connections on port 80 for any of the interfaces on this Kali box. And in a minute, we'll explain why we're doing that. But for right now, we're going to write some code. The first bit of code we're going to do, we're just going to download some exploit code. We're going to take that exploit.py off of that server, and we're going to put it onto my main computer because, again, it's not really malicious. We just call it malware because that's a common term. We're going to use send keystroke. And what I'm peeking at is the different keys that we have to use. So, key R mod. So what this is telling the DigiSpark to do is we're going to hit the R key, and in the Digi keyboard library, mod GUI left is your Windows key. So if you ever hit Windows R, it will open up the run process, whatever you want to call it. After that, we're going to give it a delay. And we're going to do about 300 milliseconds. Print a line. In that line, we're going to print CMD. This is going to open our command prompt. I'm going to give it another delay. And the reason we're giving it delays is to give the application time to actually open before we start typing things. So let's do digi. First off, let's fix that. Digi one. In this, we're going to do PowerShell. And what you're seeing is when I use the backslash, I am escaping a character so that the interpreter knows I want you to actually send that character instead of ending the double quote. You're still able to see that code. I was worried about that. Now in a second, this might go off of screen for you. Unfortunately, there's not a whole bunch I can do about that. Okay, it is going to work with me. All right, quick explanation of what we're doing with this. We are going to open our little run, give a delay of 300 milliseconds, type in CMD, give a delay of 500 milliseconds to allow command prompt to open. Then we're going to, in the command prompt, type PowerShell -cmd or -command, invoke web request, which is going to allow PowerShell to open a web request for us. We're going to give it the URI of the IP address to our Kali server. And we're going to tell it to take that file, the exploit.py, and put it to my desktop, basically. We're going to do another delay. We'll do 1,000. Let's do 3 seconds. That'll give time for the exploit to... I prefer to give it a delay just to make sure that we have that extra time. Technically, you could probably get away with it without giving the delay sometimes, but the delay allows any type of programs to open. In this case, we're trying to give it time to download. It's downloading over VirtualBox networks in this case, so that little probably 5 kilobyte file, no way it's going to take 3 seconds, but it's something that for good practice we would always want to try to delay things where we can. Does that answer your question? And then we're going to do digi keyboard print line. And all we're going to do is show that it did get downloaded. That's all I'm doing here is giving Windows the command to, hey, show my directory. So you'll get to see my filthy desktop. Well, you won't get to see it, but you'll get to see the file directory. And then we're not going to give it another delay. Just because we're not waiting for anything after that. So yeah, from here we can verify, make sure we don't get an error. We're going to upload. It's going to tell me to plug in a device. You'll see me down here. Unplugging, plugging it back in. So now this is going to upload that sketch. Hopefully not type anything. And this is all happening on a different screen. But as you can see, it did in fact run everything but our directory. But that's probably because we're waiting a couple of seconds. But yeah, it did in fact run our PowerShell. It did download this. If I was to type dir, we don't need a double slash here. And if we scroll up, now this may be kind of hard to read just because it's small, but you can see here, we do actually have exploit.py here. I wish I could get command prompt to open on this monitor. That would make life a lot better. See if I can do that. Nope, it refuses. Yeah, there's really not a way for me to solve that one, unfortunately. If you ever need something to open on a particular monitor, you can close all instances of it, move it to the monitor, hit Windows Shift Enter. That'll force it to open on that monitor. Except in the case of something you're running from the actual run prompt. For some reason, that doesn't work. Or it just doesn't work with command prompt. All right, so far what we've been able to do, and actually we can show that it reached out and downloaded if we log back into Kali. You'll notice that we do have a HTTP request from my computer to this. So the next step is we would want it to actually run this. So instead of doing this, first off, we're going to slow this down because it did not take anywhere near 3 seconds. We're going to do 500 milliseconds. And we're going to actually get an error right now after a second. And the reason for that, I didn't set up the reverse shell. I did notice we did, in fact, get our web request. So the next step we would do, we'll open up a new, my house guest running across the house. Everybody say hi. So we're going to set up a listener using Netcat. No, that is my ex-wife Sky. And all right, so what this listener does is it listens for HTTP connections. Or I'm sorry, it listens for TCP connections. Hold on.
Forget how loud.
All right, they're back to doing their things. So yeah, this is going to listen for a TCP connection. In this case, it's going to catch the connection from the exploit, which is going to pop a shell on this computer. So in a second, we will see something that looks more like our command prompt, which to show you, our command prompt again looks like this. The C users are wills. Once we close that, so we can unplug this. We don't have to upload our code again once this is done. All it takes is making sure, one, we're not clicked on Kali. If we're clicked on Kali, it'll type in Kali because of it being a virtual machine. But once we plug this in, you'll see, well, you won't see it because it's on the wrong screen, but you'll see it start to. All right, so this is a good example of why we would want our delays. In this case, honestly, the reason that this happened is because I had to move this over to the same screen. You'll see that it did all this, but then when I clicked out of the window, it just got confused. So we're going to close it. I'm not going to pop the terminal back over. I'm just going to let it run, and we should see a reverse shell pop back up in Kali, which you can see right now. And it takes a second to load. This is just Windows doing its USB things. So right now it's downloading, and there's our reverse shell. So now technically I am connected to my computer.
I used to be an adventurer like you, and I took an arrow in the knee.
Hi Phoenix, how are you? But yeah, so now we are connected via TCP connection to our, in this case, our host machine. We could do this over the internet. I'm doing great. Having some fun doing a little bit of actual hacking today. So that's always fun. But yeah, we could send this shell directly over the internet to a C2 server, whatever we wanted to. We would also do some other things. Like in a red team engagement, I would never use port 4444. That's just a port that's going to get flagged a lot. Snacking. I need to be snacking. Actually, I need to drink some coffee. But yeah, we would never use port 4444. It's noticeable. I would probably not use Python if I was attacking a Windows machine because Python's not necessarily going to be installed. There's other ways that I could do this. We'll get into that in another stream that's a little bit more advanced. But yeah, I would probably use something like port 53, which is common for DNS. That way, if somebody saw applications running requests over port 53, they're less likely to think something's going on. They're just like, oh, okay, computers will be computers. They do DNS requests. A good SOC would still catch it, but that's where the game gets played. My job is to excuse me, try to beat the SOC. The SOC's job is to try to beat me. But yeah, to show you we are fully connected. I cannot use tab. Drive desktop. It doesn't like that. It's a lot harder to type this when you think people are watching you. So yeah, we cannot scroll up in this. There's some things that we could do. For example, I would probably try Python. I see import PTY. I don't know. PTY won't work on Windows. I'm a liar. This is again why I wouldn't use Python. There's just a lot of Windows Python things that don't work well. But yeah, that's how quickly I can get on somebody's machine if they leave it unlocked. That's why you should always lock your computers when you step away. I would like to bring... I'm going to run this one more time so that I can show you what's happening on the Windows side. There's some other things that I would also do in a normal engagement. I would not use a full screen command that's just noticeable. I would use something a little less obvious. But we're going to plug this in one more time, and we'll catch that reverse shell, and then I'll drag the command prompt over so that you can see what it's doing on the other side. I said I am, but chances are I just hit that. Yeah, so now you can see what I meant by you cannot, when you're doing this on a virtual machine, it's just going to type wherever you're telling it to type. So now the computer's confused because none of that should be a thing. So what we're going to do is make sure we click out of the virtual box. Oh yeah, you can echo things into files. You can do whatever you want. In fact, in a second I'll show some of that. So there's our reverse shell. This is what it looks like in Windows. Properties. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Font 24. Okay. So now you should be able to actually read it. And again, this is why I would never run this, because this would be showing on their computer. There's ways, I'd have to look them up. I keep notes somewhere for stuff like that. But there's ways to make this pop in a window that's way less noticeable. There's ways to background this process. There's a lot of different techniques that we would use. It all depends on what your use is, though. For a demo, it's better for me to show all of this than it is to actually hide it. But yeah, if we wanted to actually, since we're talking about popping just files on desktop, let's pull this up. Give me 1 second, I have to remember how to Windows for a minute. I've been in Linux all week. So the general concept for this redirect to and notepad. So what this should do, again, I've been in Linux too much lately, so I'm having to remember how to Windows. Should echo hello chat, redirect it into a file called hellochat.txt. It should then open Notepad or with Notepad hellochat.txt. Now, whether or not that's going to work, I don't know. Not going to work. Should have a file. I think with Windows we have to use delete the chat. Is that how it works on Windows? No, it just gets confused. One second, we're going to look something up on Firefox. It's interesting. That should have worked. Computers be computers sometimes, I suppose. Oh, I get out of that. But yeah, that would be an example of how we could do just making a file. So in this, it would look like this. Second, so almost a half a second. Make sure I can actually hear sounds. I'm going to put on a little bit of music. There you go. A little bit of music while I talk and figure this out. And what we did, for a full explanation, we hit our Windows key, R, we delayed for about 300 milliseconds, typed CMD to make sure we entered the command prompt, delayed for 300 seconds, then we just echoed what we wanted to go into a file. We command chained opening it with Notepad. Then we command chained exiting our command prompt. Again, because the command prompt's opening in a different monitor, you can't see it opening, but it opened and closed on its own. But yeah, and again, this is what it would look like. And this time it didn't want a notepad, so who knows? As you can see, it's run 3 times. But yeah, so I'm gonna turn down the music just a little bit on my end. This is how we would recreate a certain company's tool called a RubberDucky. That tool runs in the $55 to $60 range. This particular microprocessor cost me $3.89 per board. And all it takes is a little bit of time. Cool thing about the RubberDucky is it comes preloaded. It comes with a lot of easy to install payloads. With this, we have to create our own. There are some tools. Actually, let's see if I can pull it up. So these are just a couple of scripts that are already created that if you really wanted to, you could just come in and take them keyloggers. And you'll see basically the same types of things that we were doing. You know, if we want to rickroll somebody, and you'll notice they're writing in their loop. I don't like that. The reason I don't write mine in a loop is this will just continue to do this, which gets really annoying, especially if I'm trying to demo it on stream or something. So I just use the setup so it runs one time and it's done. Yeah, we can window jammer. Don't know what they're doing here. No. Yeah, so basically this would be a fun one to do in a loop. To explain what this code is doing, I don't know what Control W does. Yeah, I have no idea what that one actually does. I know what it did do. Close my window. But yeah, basically all that was doing was consistently closing windows, which would get really annoying. This is an example of using it on a Mac. There's some interesting things that we have to do with a Mac to include flashing. And the way that they're doing the preventing the loop, instead of just running it in setup, they're doing this, which apparently stops the DigiSpark from running it multiple times. For me, it's just easier to put it in the setup. Here's an example of a reverse shell. And they're using a slightly different PowerShell, so they're not using the invoke web request. They're doing a new object of net web client. They're downloading a exploit. I'm sure if we look in here, here's their exploit, which is just a PowerShell reverse shell. So the same thing we were doing with Python. This would actually be something I would use in real life, except for the port 444. Just because, again, 444 is super noticeable. But yeah, they're basically doing the same thing. Actually, since we showed it on stream, I want to make sure to provide where I'm looking at this at, so we'll put that in chat. Yo, I see you. I meant to text you back, Mike. I will be sending that out very soon, and yes, I do have your address to answer your questions. How are you? I just feel bad because I know you called, man. Missed all the fun, dude. We're popping reverse shells. Actually. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'll send you tracking numbers and everything, man. For sure. Different Mike, different Mike. This is my old roommate, Mike. Started a new job. Congratulations. What are you doing? Now a barback. I like it. I like it. Good tips. Did I just copy that whole thing? Okay, no. So here is the link. Cyber Ops Security. I know you are going to want to look at that particular GitHub repo. That'll have a bunch of different scripts that you can use when I send out your thing, which I will be sending out very soon as well. So, what questions do we have? And actually, oh yeah, yeah, for sure, man. That's good. Means less work, more time for coding. How's the Python going? For sure, cyber ops, for sure. I think what we're gonna do, I'm gonna put you on a be right back screen for a few minutes. Think of any questions you've got. I'm gonna take about a 5-minute break because we're at about the hour of live time. Yeah, that happens, man. Just remember to get back to it when you have time. Like you got to take care of real life stuff first, right? That's always important. Pop into stream every once in a while. We do a lot of Python here. Maybe it'll give you some ideas. But I am going to put everybody on a be right back. I will have this chat up, so I'll be able to talk to you through that. I will have my mic muted though, so you don't have to listen to me smoking a cigarette, because that's really what we're doing. Oh yeah, yeah, I feel you. I'm in the middle of reporting season right now, so yeah, yeah, I feel everything's going to be way too much. But yeah, fun break. I'll be right back.